Good evening and welcome. You're watching the news track. I'm Rahul Kamal. An India Today special investigation, Operation Beti Bazaar, is my top focus on the news track.
Bartered for cash. Contracted for prostitution. Sold by their own parents. Sinister trade uncovered. India Today special investigation. Operation Beti Bazaar.
Two states, one story. Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan, both going to the elections with politicians making tall claims about what they intend to do with these states if they get elected. On the news track tonight, we will reveal a gripping investigation that sheds light on a dark and disturbing reality hidden beneath the surface of our society. India Today's special investigation team exposes the sinister underbelly of child trafficking and child prostitution in the states of Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan. Our investigative reporters Mohammad Hizbullah and Jai Kishan Sharma take you deep into the heart of this harrowing tale. Here is the first part of this India Today special investigation.
An epidemic concealed behind occasional headlines. But India Today's special investigation team reveals the sinister reality of child trafficking and child prostitution, hidden in plain sight. Following leads, our reporters ventured into the forgotten corners of Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. Our first stop, a village in Rajasthan's Bundi. Meet Lakhan, a middleman facilitating the trade of minor girls in Ramnagar. In a village gripped by relentless poverty, where innocence is traded for profit.
बहुत सारी लड़कियां हैं गांव में, कम से कम 50-60 लड़कियां हैं। लड़कियां दिखा दूंगा आपको, जो पसंद आएगा। आपको ये पसंद है लड़की, तो उससे बातचीत कर लेंगे, उसकी मम्मी पापा ये सब कर सकते हैं।
अच्छा, वो कितने उम्र होता है?
उसकी होगा कम से कम 14 साल 15 साल। करवा दूंगा, आपकी बातचीत करवा दूंगा।
Lakhan offered to mediate deals involving minor girls in Ramnagar. Explaining that these transactions are disguised as formal contracts. Young lives commodified. Presented as singers and dancers for hotels and restaurants.
तो ये पेपर में क्या बनाओगे आप लोग? लिखत पढ़त में क्या लिखोगे?
लिखते हैं नाचने गाने के लिए।
अच्छा,
नाचने गाने के लिए भेजी है।
अच्छा।
बस ये लिखेगी होटल में नाचने गाने के लिए भेजी है।
अच्छा,
बाकी वो सारा काम करेगी। वो तो आर्ट है अपनी, वो तो आर्ट है। कोई रात दरबार पुलिस वाले देख लेने, वो तो आर्ट है।
अच्छा,
उसमें कोई दिक्कत नहीं। कोई जबरदस्ती थोड़े भेज रहे अपने, उसके माँ बाप से रह लेंगे, उसके माँ बाप को पैसे देंगे, उसके बाद में कोई ऐसे अपने कोई दलाल थोड़े जो उसको भेज उठा के भेज देंगे। ऐसा
तो ये लिखत पढ़त कौन करेगा एग्रीमेंट? उसकी माँ बाप करेंगे?
माँ बाप कर लेंगे।
माँ बाप।
आप मिलेगी उसके बाद में बोला अंदर गड्ढे हैं, बोला नहीं उसके बाद
अभी कहाँ है?
अंदर ये अंदर गड्ढे ला दिया।
You have witnessed how minor girls in this Rajasthan village are traded under the cover of signed job contracts. Later in the day, Lakhan showed our reporters two potential victims. The minor girls currently in custody of her uncle named Jitendra. The uncle demanded 6 to 7 lakh for each of the underage teens, all bound by a one-year contract.
क्या उम्र कितना है? कितने साल की हो? किसका?
16 साल लगा साल हो।
करवा लेना अदालत की सीढ़ी जी, कोई दिक्कत वाली बात नहीं इसमें। तो मेरे जरूरत पड़ गई सीढ़ी जी रख लो कि यार कहे 1 साल पे रख लो कि क्या नाम से दे देना का 6-7 लाख रुपए दे देना।
उस वाला
सिस्टम।
अच्छा 1 साल का 6-7 लाख रुपया।
ये बात है सीढ़ी।
1 साल बाद वापस आ जाती है।
आ जाती है। जैसे आपका टाइम पूरा हो गया,
हाँ।
लड़की घर पाओ पहुंचाने के बाद में फिर दूसरी लड़की खरीद ली आराम से। जैसे आपने बोल दिया कि भाई साहब
पूरा हो गया
लेके आओ, तो हम तो आपका विश्वास आ जाएगा 1 साल भर में। कोई दिक्कत वाली बात ही नहीं है शेर जी। आप बोलेंगे कि इतनी चाहिए तो उतनी भेज देंगे।
India recorded 59,544 minor girls missing in 2021. The total number of children, male, female and transgender, gone missing increased by 30.8% that year, up from 59,262 in 2020. A total of 2,189 cases of human trafficking registered in 2021, compared to 1,714 in 2020. Of the 6,533 victims, 2,877 were children, according to the official data.
तो आप हमें परमानेंट थोड़ी बेच रहे हो। ठीक है।
The darkness runs deeper. The web of exploitation stretches far and wide. At Adalwara village in Savai Madhopur, our reporters uncovered parents complicit in this sinister trade. Tano offered 2 of her daughters for sale, each for a price of 3 lakh rupees.
आपको ये प्रमाण हमको अच्छा लगेगा तो आपके पास रहेगा, मुझे पैसे चाहिए। 2 बेटी मेरी, ये भी है, एक बम्बई भी रहती है।
अच्छा 2 बेटी है। आपकी अपनी बेटी है, आपने खरीदा हुआ है?
नहीं खुद की है मेरी। ये नहीं ये एक तो ये आई जा आंटी ने थोड़ा मकान करके आरसीसी डलवाऊंगी, इसके लिए भेज रही हूँ। नहीं तो कम मेरे क्या हमारे हमारे यहाँ कमा लेते हैं।
अच्छा ये मकान बनवाना इसलिए दे रही है?
भेज रही हूँ मकान नहीं रहने के लिए। अभी तो 2 लड़कियों को भेज दूंगी, अगर पैसा देंगे तो 2 लड़की आएगी। वो तो नहीं किसी को भी लेके जाओ 3 लाख रुपये लेगी।
कितनी है?
नहीं
18-19
हाँ
18 है
कितना है?
18-19।
Our next destination is Jaisinghpura village in Rajasthan's Tonk district. Here this middle-aged man, Ravi, offered to sell his underage nieces for 1,70,000 rupees each.
बहन की लड़की है।
अच्छा ये बहन की लड़की, आप मामा हैं? अच्छा तो क्या उम्र है इसकी उम्र?
उम्र होगी 17-18 साल बस खेच के। अब ये तो कम से कम मिलेगा 1,70,000 से कम नहीं जाएगी।
ये जो एक जो लड़की घर जो है उसका 1,70,000 रुपये हमको देना पड़ेगा
महीने का।
और एग्रीमेंट कितने साल का होगा?
आप बताओ एग्रीमेंट का, भाई मैं इतने साल रख सकता हूँ।
The predators preying on the most vulnerable. A heart-stopping journey into the world of trafficking. Stay tuned for more. A report by Mohammad Hizbullah and Jaikishan Sharma for India Today's Special Investigation Team.
Absolutely shocking and disgusting. Parents willing to sell their own daughters as young as 14-15 years of age for as little as 1,70,000 rupees because they want to do things like build houses. That's why they're willing to sell their daughters. They suggest that it's for a one-year contract, knowing fully well that that is not true. Once those daughters are gone, they are gone, and the social stigma is such that those daughters aren't then coming back to those villages. That's not all. What you've seen so far is just part one of this eye-opening expose. One would have thought that this happened in the India of an era bygone, that this is happening as commonly as it seems to be, caught on India Today's cameras, is making me sick in my stomach. In the second part of our investigation into the chilling world of child trafficking, our journey takes us to the heartland of Madhya Pradesh, where we confront a stark reality that's hard to fathom. Watch this report by our investigative journalist, Mohammad Hizbullah.
Our investigation takes us next to Madhya Pradesh. In Neemach district's Borkhedi village, we encountered this man, Vijay, a jobless villager exchanging his 16-year-old sister for 3 lakh a month. On paper, the deal will feature a fraudulent loan contract.
वो कितने साल की है?
16 साल।
अच्छा, 16 साल की लड़की है।
भाई काम सब बढ़िया करेगी, व्यवस्थित नाटक वाटक काम नहीं।
अच्छा,
चाहे आप 4 काम कराओ या 5 काम कराओ, नाइट नहीं रुकेगी बस। नाइट रुकेगी, एक रात रुकेगी किसी के पास सिंगल आदमी।
तो क्या आप लिखत पढ़त करेंगे?
लिखत पढ़त तो होगी ना।
क्या होगी? किस पे
एग्रीमेंट होगा? स्टाम्प पे। हाँ,
तो स्टाम्प पे किसके नाम एग्रीमेंट बनेगा?
वो तो मेरे नाम पे होगा एग्रीमेंट।
आपके नाम होगा? उसमें लड़की का नाम होगा या नहीं होगा?
लड़की का नाम नहीं रहेगा उसमें।
तो
उसमें वो धनी अपन दोनों रहेंगे लेन देन में।
नहीं तो एग्रीमेंट पे कुछ तो लिखा होगा ना, किस लड़की के लिए कौन सा लड़की का एग्रीमेंट कर रहे हैं आप?
वैसा नहीं लिखाएगा उसमें।
हाँ,
तो जैसे उसमें उधार का सिस्टम रहेगा।
अच्छा,
हाँ, कि आपसे मैंने उधार लिए इतने महीने के लिए।
अच्छा,
1 महीने के लिए तो 1 महीने का एग्रीमेंट करेंगे।
अच्छा, 1 साल का अगर उधार है तो 1 साल का।
1 साल का मतलब मेरे को 10,000 रुपये रोज की चाहिए, बोलिए आप 4 काम कराओ दिन में या 1 रात रुकवाओ।
अच्छा,
मैं 6,000-7,000 रुपये यहीं कमा रहा हूँ।
हाँ,
घर बैठे।
हाँ, अच्छा।
देखिए,
तो आप ये कह रहे हो कि 3 लाख रुपया आपको चाहिए?
At Bardia village in Neemach, our reporter met this man, Bablu, with an underage girl. He introduced as his family member. Bablu offered minor girls like her on demand.
उसके घर की लड़की है या बाहर की लड़की?
अपनी यहीं की है, परिवार की है।
सभी परिवार की। तो किस एज की लड़की हो जाएगी? किस उम्र की हो जाएगी?
हो जाएगी 15 के लमसम।
15-16 साल की, 14 साल की लड़कियाँ कितनी लड़की होगी?
4-5 मिल जाएगी। 4-5 मिल जाएगी।
अच्छा, ये लड़की कौन है जिससे आपने अभी मिलवाया?
ये अपने घर की फैमिली है, परिवार में से।
अच्छा, परिवार में ही?
वो से बोल रहे हैं जैसे घर वालों से बात कर लेंगे तो आपको अभी नहीं, शाम तक या सुबह तक बता।
अच्छा।
At Piplia, Jodha village in Madhya Pradesh's Ratlam district, Kiran alias Neha offered her own niece for 2 lakh rupees a month.
जैसे ये लड़की है, ये कौन है?
मेरी सिस्टर की लड़की।
अपनी सिस्टर की?
नहीं, खुद की सिस्टर की।
अच्छा, उस लड़की के माँ बाप को देना है या आपको देना है?
मेरे को।
मुझे कितना है? जिस लड़की को आपने दिखाया, आपकी अपनी बहन की बेटी है ना?
हाँ, मेरी सिस्टर।
तो इस लड़की का मुझे कितने देने पड़ेंगे?
महीने 2 लाख।
2 लाख रुपये। लड़की के माँ बाप ने कोई ऑब्जेक्शन, कोई दिक्कत किया तो?
नहीं, कुछ भी नहीं।
अच्छा, यहाँ जो आप देंगे, एग्रीमेंट करेंगे, तो किस पे? स्टाम्प पेपर पे होता है या सादे कागज़ पे करते हैं आप?
स्टाम्प
स्टाम्प पे हो जाएगा ना.
A deeply unsettling world of child trafficking. A haunting reality that must be confronted head on. A report by Mohammed Hizbullah for India Today's Special Investigation Team.
To talk about this horrific, eye-opening investigation and most importantly, what needs to be done so that young girls as young as 14, 15 can't be sold in this fashion. Remember, elections around the corner in both Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh, and while netas make tall promises about how they are working for the girl child, working for women, this is the harsh reality. And we've exposed this in two important states. To talk about this, I'm joined on this broadcast by Lalita Kumaramangalam. She's been chairperson of the National Commission for Women. Karuna Nandi joins us, well-known advocate in the Supreme Court. We've got Dr. Miran Chadda Borwankar. She's a well-known police officer. Jyoti Mathur joins us, executive director at Kailash Satyarthi's Children's Foundation. And Sujata Paul is with us, spokesperson of the Congress. I want to go across to Lalita Kumaramangalam, who's been chairperson of the National Commission for Women. If you were heading the NCW at this moment, ma'am, what action do you believe the NCW needs to take right now, right here, on the back of this India Today expose?
Well, if these girls are underage, the NCW has no legal right to intervene, but the least that they could do or should do, if they have seen, and I hope they are seeing this program, is to contact the NCPCR and ask them to, to bring into force the most stringent punishment that is available under the POCSO Act. This is utterly shameful. It's horrifying that in 2023 we have parents selling their daughters. It's unacceptable. In fact, I'm running out of words because I'm so shocked and so sad about the fact that we still have young girls who are being commodified. It's just a transaction for these people who are selling their daughters. And then we turn around and say these girls are whores and all the dirty words that are used about these poor things. I think I saw one of the girls in the visual where a young girl who's, drinking, and how to blame the child? She must be doing it just to get through the night or the day or whatever it is. It's terrible that women have absolutely no self-respect, obviously. Also that they're not educated, they have no choice. People like us talk about freedom and things like that. What freedom do these poor children have? It's not as if they asked to be born, and after being born the way they are treated. Women become bitter, women become, everything that can go wrong goes wrong. And you're right, once they're sold, they're sold. They will never live a life of any sort of, forget about respectability, any sort of decency. They will always, this almost the scourge will follow them for the rest of their lives. And how is it fair? Sometimes I think, that we all talk about God and good and dharma and, doing good in every religion. And what is happening? Is this what is supposed to be decent or good or dharma or not evil? I'm talking about any religion across the board. Across the board governments. Why is there still so much poverty in places that children are being sold?
Karuna
I'm sure
Nandi,
there are also boys being sold, but it's terrible.
The Constitution, Article 23 about trafficking in humans, forced labor being prohibited, Article 24, children under the age of 14 not working in hazardous employment, the Indian Penal Code, Section 347, 374, so many. The Immoral Traffic Prevention Act of 1956, the Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act of 2012. The law are many, but it seems quite clearly that nobody seems to care. In this report, what shocks me is it's not as if some of these are orphans, and not that anything should happen to orphans, but that is a distant relative or somebody just taking care. Parents, mothers willing to sell their daughters because that lady tells us she has a house to build and that she's got 2 daughters, she'll sell them both if she can do it.
I think the ugliest part of these reports is that Many of these stories are not born out of need, they're born out of greed. And that makes them over and above sort of any balancing sympathy factor that exists in a number of other trafficking cases where there is this desperate and huge need and there is absolutely no alternative. In terms of investigating and prosecuting trafficking crimes, there are these units, these anti-human trafficking units that Maharashtra and Odisha have funded to some extent. And Andhra Pradesh, the last I checked, has notified. But why are the other states not putting this on a very serious priority? And I really hope that your report prompts other states to do that. Unfortunately, the NCPCR and the NCW, while they can take up these cases and push and can keep, strongly pushing for systemic change, not just in terms of prioritizing investigation and prosecution, but also adequate investigation and prosecution of collusion by rogue police officers and other members of the state, which is why the acquittal rate is incredibly high in trafficking cases. It's about, I think it's about 89%, which means that you have these situations where there is a level of impunity, and that if that hafta is paid, that you can do these things, right? I think there are a number of other priorities that we must have as a polity, and the state governments need to take this up on a war footing, because in an environment where the inequalities have increased so much, so much so that the top 5% of us own 60% of the wealth, and that probably includes every one of us on this panel, right? That to have then support mechanisms where you have audited homes and shelter homes that aren't places that people just go to rot, right? That aren't based on court orders, that are voluntary and supported, and where there is proper information about compensation and real rehabilitation, not a little minor sewing program or a tailoring program or some loan for a sabzi cart, right? Which is not necessarily going to work for somebody who's going to be rehabilitated. An entire systemic approach, it's not rocket science. We all know what to do. When I joined the National Human Rights Commission in 2002 under Justice Verma as his officer on special duty, one of the things that I did was do a report on the Immoral Trafficking Prevention Act and its implementation in Delhi. And one of the things that we found was that the shelters that existed, even though the shelter was it was adjacent to Tihar, and it was kind of like Tihar, because women went in and
but there's a difference. If someone is at an orphanage or at a shelter home, if there is illegal trafficking, not that that is understandable, but that, okay, these people are out to make money. What shocks me, Dr. Borwankar, the most is that these are mothers, fathers, close relatives willing to sell their daughters because they want to do things like build their own houses. Can this happen without the knowledge of the local police, or would they know that in places like Bandi, places like Ratlam, places like Neemach, Ramnagar, that these things are happening, that it can't happen without the local police not knowing anything about it, ma'am?
Okay, so I would say that when I was Joint CP Crime in Mumbai, nobody ever asked me about the missing girls, the girls being traded by their own parents, which was quite common in Mumbai. We used to find so many girls, especially we were targeting to rescue the minor girls. So in a way, I congratulate India today for bringing the stark reality on focus and educating our own audience, our own viewership, that this is what the reality is. As a young DCP, when I first raided Kamathipura, out of the 300 girls whom I tried to so-called rescue, only 9 were ready to come out, and they confronted me with statements like, "आप कहाँ थे जब हमें यहाँ बेचा गया? आप कहाँ थे जब हम इतने दिन से यहाँ पे धंधा कर रहे हैं फोर्सफुली? सो दिस फ्रॉम 1991 to 2023 has been the story. So I am not shocked. One. Number two, Mumbai High Court had passed a very good order saying that many a times when a man and a woman appear either before the shelter home or before the court as the parents of the girl. Actually, they are not. So I would request India Today, and I would also, I am 100% sure that police in Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan would register cases, and I do not agree that police is aware of it. I think we expect too much from police. I would, in this and these cases, expect panchayat, ASHA workers, school teachers, community leaders, and above all, parents to come forward and talk about how their child was missing. Now, last point which I want to make is that it is true that acquittal rate is very high. We definitely have to be more professional, but in these cases, the girls do not stand by prosecution in the court, especially when their own family members are involved. Their rehabilitation is very, very essential. And while congratulating Team India Today, I'm extremely upset that we have not been able to change the reality that, at least as a police officer, I am aware of.
Jyoti Mathur, at the Kailash Satyarthi Children's Foundation, do you buy the argument from Dr. Borwankar that the local police is unlikely to know? I don't buy that for the reason that if this is happening, there are pockets and belts, villages where these things happen. I find it very difficult to fathom that the local police in that area would not know.
So I would say I would not agree that the local police and the local authorities would be completely unaware of this happening, and which is happening in such openly with a written kind of an agreement between the families. I don't think so. That is really to believe. And but I do agree with the fact that the people at the ground, like the panchayats and the child welfare committees that are there, or supposedly there, or ASHA workers or Anganwadi workers, these women and these institutions would definitely be aware, because if the girls are missing, they have suddenly disappeared and gone and have not returned back. So this is a question which cannot be said that it is, they are not aware of that. So this I really don't think is really
Sujata Paul, you
correct.
represent the Congress. The Congress runs the government in Rajasthan. As soon as this show gets over, what are you going to tell the Ashok Gehlot government and Mallikarjun Kharge ji? What do you think the government in Rajasthan needs to do?
Today, what you have shown us is really chilling, and I really don't know what to say when you hear about such stories, because these are not mere stories. This is reality, and the girl child being under attack in this manner. Of course, we have our government in Rajasthan, and you'll see that the moment this program is aired, you will have statements coming out from the government of Rajasthan, and they'll take cognizance of it and get into action. Because if I remind you of what happened in November of 2022, there was one incident which was reported, after which it was said that there were many other cases of a similar kind where girls had disappeared. And immediately the government got into action, because the Rajasthan Commission for Protection of Child Rights has a method that it follows, that it immediately sets up a high-powered committee which works on the ground, gets a ground report, asks the police to give a factual report within 3 days, and then they start taking action. And I am certain that Mr. Ashok Gehlot is going to look into this matter, because this is of serious concern. And of course, our systems need to be strengthened, and the socio-economic factor which we are seeing today in these villages is also responsible for it. But if parents can show so much of apathy, then obviously there is something lacking with all of us. Its responsibility cannot be just given to the parents. If they are living in poverty, then we will take responsibility for that, because if we are in the government, we have to ensure that there is awareness there is the fear of the law, and people should understand that the girl child needs to be protected. And I am sure that you are going to see action immediately.
Karuna Nandi, one of the arguments Dr. Borwankar made is that these cases don't stand in court because even if the girl were produced during the prosecution, the girl is unlikely to speak up against her parents and family. Now that again is deeply sickening. Your family sold you for as little as 1,70,000 rupees, and when the case goes to court, the girl still can't speak out against her family. She still comes under social and familial pressure. You're on mute, Karuna.
I think there are two aspects here. The first is that don't blame the victim. That there's a reason when a young woman is failing to go through the criminal trial, let's look at the reasons for it, because people tend to be rational actors. For example, when we have a rape victim that is not willing to go through the process and who hasn't been trafficked, who has been raped in other circumstances, then it's usually because the criminal trial is too onerous or there are other circumstances making it too difficult for her to participate. So therefore, how can we support someone who has emerged from a history of trafficking, who is traumatized, who probably doesn't have anywhere to go? Either she will have the place into which she has been trafficked, or she will have her natal family. What really is the third option? Because at the moment, the options the state provides are worse, by far. So that's one set of realities. The second set of realities is what Dr. Borwankar said herself, which is the fact that very often the people posing as parents are not parents, right? They're actually traffickers. So therefore, would you go against the trafficker if there's a sort of Stockholm syndrome, this is the only person I can go to? Plus, there's the stick, there's the threat of bodily harm. If you go against somebody like that, they are hugely criminal people, right? Or connected to hugely criminal people. The third is that if the people who are the accused include the parents, and the parents are sympathetic to the child in some way, and the child doesn't want to proceed against the parents, then there's a way to support the child to give evidence against the others. Right? It's not an all or nothing situation.
No, but Dr. Borwankar, where does the fault lie? In the law or in the implementation of the law? Because, for example, if you read the Immoral Traffic Prevention Act 1956, Section 5 deals with procuring, inducing, taking person for the sake of prostitution without their consent of a jail term of 7 to 14 years. Section 6 deals with detaining a person in the premises where prostitution is carried out for 10 years. There are enough laws. I don't think the absence of laws or lack of laws is the problem. The problem just seems to be the implementation of these laws, Dr. Borwankar.
Absolutely, you are right. They are from the Constitution of India up to the POCSO Act of 2012. There are plenty of acts. It's the implementation, you are right. But then see, think of it, when we rescue the girl, the NGOs and many institutes like TIS with Tata Institute of Social Sciences, with whom we used to work very closely in Mumbai, they have researched and concluded that for first 15 days, a rescued victim thinks of the rescuing authority, that is police, to be the enemy, and the gharwali or the people who sold her to be her friends. So it takes some time for us to breach that particular gap and to gain the confidence of the girl. The trial after registering the case and after our having gained the confidence of the girl would be after 3 to 4 years. And we lose the girls in between these 3 to 4 years, where when either the parents come and they cry and they ask for sympathy, or these so-called gharwalis and these pimps come. And because another thing I feel we can strengthen these cases because we don't appoint special prosecutors in these sensitive cases. So they get acquitted. IOs, investigating officers, are transferred. They are not traceable after 3-4 years. We trace the IOs, the case papers, and the stage itself. I feel if we have immediate trial in cases of human trafficking, and if we are careful in appointment of prosecutors and take help of NGOs, we would have much better conviction rate.
Lalita Kumaramangalam, respond to this suggestion that like when there is when there's a rape, in some cases you have day by day hearings, you have fast track trials. She's saying in the case of human trafficking, we should have the same. Is that feasible, or do you think if that happens in different kinds of cases, it overburdens an already overburdened legal system?
Rahul, I've been saying for many years that the legal system needs an overhaul. Our courts are overburdened. Our jails are filled with under trials who, have horrible lives, especially the women, but even the men there. And unfortunately, neither the NCW nor the NCPCR really have enough powers to be able to take matters into their own hands. It all ends up again in the justice system, which is overburdened, understaffed, and many parts of which are very, very corrupt. We really need reforms both in the police and in the justice system. As has been pointed out by Dr. Borvankar, by Karuna, by everybody, it's impossible that the local, whether it's the panchayat leaders or the councillors, or I don't know, I'm afraid it may even be sometimes the MPs, though they will be up in arms for having me say this so frankly. But certainly the ASHA workers and the local, the Anganwadi workers, who are the ones who go from home to home, can't be unaware of this. It's a huge nexus. And I don't think it's going to be, we are going to be able to really deal with it effectively unless we use both disincentives and incentives. Like when the central government or the state government considers a particular panchayat or a particular a constituency, saying that this is a constituency that needs special attention, they should also look at issues like child trafficking. All we do is we look at the number of industries, the income, and this sort of thing. We need to look at other issues, social issues like child trafficking. And child trafficking, as you have shown earlier on in your program, the data shows that it's just going up, not going down.
No, but that's the whole point, because there was a journalist of the Indian Express, Ashwani Sareen, in 1981 who bought a young girl, Kamla, in Dholpur, that was also in Rajasthan, and brought her to Delhi. That created a big shock. That was 40 years ago.
Yes.
And what is shocking, Jyoti Mathur, is that the same thing can happen today. That it was, Kamla in 1981. We haven't taken the names of any of these girls because that's not the right thing to do. But it could literally be Kamla 2023. It almost seems as if India, as far as selling girl children is concerned, hasn't changed, and it's the same neck of the woods here.
Yes, I completely agree. And in fact, I would say that there are many more Kamlas that you have said, and our experience shows that we have rescued girls from brothels, especially from Rajasthan and Bihar. And it has been a very difficult journey, to bring them back to a normal life that we all live, because they have been sold at a very young age, and the stigma that they carry, their family is unwilling to take them back, their relatives, the society is unwilling to take them back. So where do they go? So what are the options available for them, for these women who want to get out of from these brothels and these commercial sexual exploitation? Then what are the options available for them? We have to look at those so that the girls can come out. And we also need to look at the awareness of the law among the parents. There is actually no fear in them. If you see, they are completely, they know whatever they're doing, they feel that nothing will happen to them, and they treat their daughters as commodities and just sell them for something like making a home. Why? We need to find out the root cause of that. Why those families are doing that? Why is it that government schemes that are there for these vulnerable or poor families, why are those schemes not reaching to such people? And the second thing that I want to say is the need for the comprehensive trafficking law, although we have a section in the IPC that deals with trafficking, but a comprehensive trafficking law is becoming more clear from this discussion. That is what is required, which has a timeline for trial, timeline for investigation, time rehabilitation, services for such victims, and stringent punishment in such cases is something really
Oh, absolutely,
necessary.
because
I do understand
politicians are going to town in this election season, making all kinds of promises, Ladli Bahina, transferring whether it's 1,200 rupees or 1,500 rupees to the bank accounts of women, talking about selling LPG cheap. Nothing can be worse than girl children being sold off right under the nose of our police agencies, under the nose of the state administration, and the timing is important. The fact that we've highlighted this issue, this needs to become one of the issues that is debated and discussed during the election campaign, because this is what citizens must seek accountability from. Transferring money, that's just a freebie, that's a reverie. These are real issues that real India is dealing with. This is what politicians must apply their minds on, and hopefully on the back of this big expose by the India Today group, attention will focus on this issue and some action will be taken, because we can't have a situation where what was happening in 1981 is getting repeated in the new Bharat of 2023. That's not going forward in time, that is staying where we were 40 years ago. Great travesty this. I look very carefully for reactions on this expose and see how our netas, our political class responds.